The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of our Chicago high-rise like it was trying to drown out the secrets we'd buried for years. I froze under Matthew's hands, his fingers lingering too long on the knot in my lower back. The warmth of his breath ghosting my neck in a way that shattered the fragile boundary we'd both pretended didn't exist. In that electric silence, one word escaped my lips: stop. But it came out as a plea, not a command, and we both knew the line we'd crossed wasn't just skin deep. I am John Harlan, 42 years old, a man who'd built his life on straight lines, the sharp edges of corporate ledgers as a mid-level accountant in the Loop, the unyielding grid of Michigan Avenue streets, the rigid routine of fatherhood after my wife Elena's death 5 years ago. But lines blur in grief, don't they? They twist like the Chicago River under a summer storm, and mine had started to fray the day I married Sarah, Elena's best friend from college, who came into our lives like a lifeline, practical, warm, with a laugh that echoed through our empty brownstone on the north side. Sarah had a son, Matthew, from her first marriage. He was 18 then, all gangly limbs and brooding silences, a high school senior navigating the wreckage of his own family's implosion. I became his stepfather overnight, stepping into a role I never auditioned for, trying to glue together shards that weren't mine to mend. That first winter after the wedding, the four of us huddled in that drafty old house, the wind off Lake Michigan rattling the panes like an unwelcome guest. Matthew and I didn't talk much at first. He'd nod politely over breakfast, his dark hair falling into eyes the color of storm clouds, but there was a wariness there, a teenage armor forged from too many goodbyes. Sarah saw it. Of course. She always did, and she'd nudge me with that knowing smile. Give him time, John. He's not you. He doesn't process loss with spreadsheets. I'd laugh it off. But inside, it stung. Elena had been the soft one, the artist who painted murals in our living room. I was the planner, the fixer. Losing her to cancer had left me adrift, and marrying Sarah was my way of anchoring us all. Little did I know, anchors can drag you under. Matthew's senior year blurred into college applications and part-time jobs at a coffee shop in Wrigleyville, where he'd sling lattes to Cubs fans nursing hangovers. I'd pick him up sometimes after late shifts, the city lights smearing across the windshield like neon tears. We'd ride in silence, the hum of the radio filling the void, classic rock. Mostly, Springsteen wailing about highways and broken dreams. One night, as we idled at a red light on Addison, he finally spoke. You ever feel like you're just going through the motions, John? His voice was low, cracked at the edges. I glanced over, saw the vulnerability flickering in his profile. Every damn day, kid, I replied. But that's life in the Windy City. Keep moving, or the cold gets you. He chuckled, a sound like cracking ice, and for the first time, I felt the armor shift. By his freshman year at DePaul, Matthew had filled out, the awkward angles softening into something solid, dependable. He majored in graphic design, channeling that quiet intensity into sketches that bled emotion. Cityscapes at dusk, faces half-shadowed by regret. He'd crash at home on weekends, sprawling on the couch with his laptop, and I'd brew coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Sarah thrived on it, our little family unit humming along like a well-oiled machine. But machines break, and ours started with a cough. Sarah's cough, persistent and wet, dismissed as allergies at first. Then the doctor's office in Lincoln Park, the sterile smell of fear, the word metastatic hanging in the air like smoke from a back alley fire. She fought like hell. Chemo sessions that left her frail but fierce, her hand gripping mine during infusions as if she could squeeze the poison out. Matthew and I tag-teamed the caregiving. I'd handle the bills, the endless insurance calls that made my blood boil. He'd bring her playlists of indie folk, songs about resilience and roots. In those months, something shifted between us. Late nights in the kitchen, stirring soup while she slept upstairs, we really talk. About Elena's laugh, how it could light up a blackout, about his biological dad, a ghost who'd bailed when he was 10, leaving scars that itched like old tattoos. I don't want to be like him, Matthew confessed one evening, his voice barely above the simmer of the stove. Abandoning people when it gets hard. I clapped a hand on his shoulder, felt the muscle tense then relax. You're not, Matt. You're the glue here. Sarah passed in the fall of her 45th year, leaves turning crimson outside the hospital window as if the world was bleeding with us. The funeral was a blur of black suits and casseroles from neighbors we'd barely met. Back home, the house echoed with absence, every corner a reminder. Matthew dropped out for a semester, took a leave to sort things out, but I knew it was grief gnawing at him, the kind that hollows you out. I buried myself in work, crunching numbers until my eyes burned. But evenings found us on the balcony, staring at the glittering expanse of the city. Chicago doesn't sleep. It simmers, pot always on the verge of boil. We'd share a beer, his first legal ones, milestones marked in amber foam, and the conversations deepened. He opened up about the isolation of college, the hookups that felt empty, the nagging sense that he was performing a version of himself that didn't fit. It's like, I'm wired different, you know? Not broken, just not straight. The words hung there, tentative, and I nodded, my own secrets stirring like sediment in a glass. I'd known since college, a fumbling kiss in a dorm room that I'd locked away, choosing Elena's light over my shadows. We didn't label it then. It was just understanding, a bridge across the chasm Sarah's death had carved. He leaned on me, and I on him, grocery runs turning into debates on Saul Bellow, his design sketches critiqued over takeout Thai. By spring, he'd returned to classes, but home was our anchor. That's when the massages started. My back, knotted from desk hunch and unspoken weight, would seize up after long days. Let me, he'd say one night, spotting me wincing as I shrugged off my jacket. His hands were artist's hands, strong, precise, thumbs digging into the tension like they were sculpting relief. It was innocent at first, a son caring for his stepdad, the living room lamp casting golden pools on the rug. But touch lingers, doesn't it? In the quiet, with the city humming below, fingers trace paths that maps don't show. Summer arrived sticky and unrelenting, the kind of heat that presses against your skin like a confession. Matthew had an internship at a design firm in River North. Coming home dusty from the L train, his shirts clinging in ways that made my gaze linger too long. We'd grill on the balcony, steaks charred just right, corn hissing on the coals, washing it down with IPAs that loosened tongues. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the Willis Tower, painting the sky in bruised purples, he asked about my past. Before Mom. Before Elena. You ever love someone you couldn't have? I paused, fork midway to my mouth, the question slicing clean. Yeah, I admitted, voice rough. A guy in college. It scared the hell out of me. Thought it'd ruin everything. His eyes met mine, steady, searching. Does it still scare you? Silence stretched, thick as the humidity. Sometimes, I whispered. He reached across the table, squeezed my forearm, a touch that sparked, electric and forbidden. The massages became ritual. After his shifts, I'd lie on the couch, shirt rucked up, and he'd work the knots free, his breath steady against my spine. We'd talk through it. His frustrations with a professor who dismissed emotional art, my dread of turning 43 alone. Vulnerability breeds intimacy, and ours bloomed quiet, like milkweed in a crack. But cracks widen. One night in July, the AC sputtering like a dying engine, sweat beaded on my skin as his hands slid lower, thumbs pressing into the dimples above my waistband. The air thickened, charged. "John," he murmured, voice husky, fingers stilling. I turned my head, caught his gaze dark, dilated, a mirror to my own turmoil. "Matt," but the word dissolved as he leaned in, lips brushing my shoulder in a kiss that wasn't filial, wasn't safe. I bolted upright, heart hammering like a freight train. "We can't." The words were a dam, holding back the flood. He recoiled, face paling, hurt flashing raw. "I thought. The way you look at me." Denial surged, hot and defensive. "You're my stepson, for God's sake." "This isn't." I stopped, the lie bitter on my tongue. It wasn't just the step. It was the years, the grief, the man I'd become under his quiet gaze. He stormed out, door slamming like a gunshot, leaving me in the humid wreckage. Days blurred into avoidance. He'd crash at a friend's in Logan Square, texts curt, working late. I'd pace the empty apartment, Elena's photo on the mantel watching with silent judgment, Sarah's scarf draped over a chair like a ghost's embrace. Work became my exile, endless audits, coffee black as my mood. But Chicago whispers your truths back to you. In the crush of the L at rush hour, faces blurring past, I saw us. Two men adrift in a city of reinvention, our bond twisted by loss and longing. He came home a week later, soaked from a downpour, dripping on the hardwood like an apology. "We need to talk," he said, voice steady but eyes pleading. I nodded, gesturing to the kitchen table, the same one where we'd shared confessions over soup. Rain lashed the windows, a symphony of unrest. "I'm sorry," he started, hands clasped white-knuckled. "I crossed a line. Your family. I felt alone. And you see me." His words cracked something in me, the facade crumbling. "It's not just you, Matt. I felt it too. The pull. But it's wrong, society. Sarah, Elena. Us." Tears welled in his eyes, spilling over. "Is it wrong to want more than silence? To heal instead of hiding?" We talked until dawn, voices raw, peeling back layers. My college love, buried under marriage and fatherhood, his coming out in whispers to friends who nodded but didn't understand. Betrayal surfaced, not just his kiss, but mine, the years I'd silenced my own heart to play the role of steady provider. "I betrayed you by not being honest sooner," I confessed. "Pretending I was whole when I was fractured." He reached for my hand, tentative, and this time I didn't pull away. Not a lover's grasp, but a survivor's, two hands forging a pact. Fall crept in, leaves skittering across sidewalks like discarded sketches. Matthew threw himself into his senior project, a series of portraits capturing hidden intimacies, faces on the verge of revelation. I critiqued them over weekends, our dynamic shifting to something fragile, new. No more massages, but touches lingered. A hand on the small of my back in passing, a shared glance across the breakfast bar that spoke volumes. Tension simmered, pot on low boil, but we chose restraint, building trust brick by brick. Then came the conflict, sharp as a winter gale. Thanksgiving approached, and with it, Sarah's family, her brother Tom from Milwaukee, aunts bearing pies and prying questions. Tom had always been the skeptic, eyeing our modern family with veiled disdain. Over turkey and tension, he cornered me in the den, bourbon breath hot. Heard Matt's been struggling, with his preferences. The word dripped venom. As his stepdad, you gotta set him straight. Literally, rage flared, but I swallowed it, voice even. He's a good man, Tom. Struggling like we all do, but the seed was planted, doubt worming in. Matthew overheard, later that night, as we washed dishes. His face crumpled, plate slipping from sudsy hands. He thinks I'm broken. And you didn't defend me. Betrayal, fresh and stinging. I did. In my way, I protested, but it rang hollow. He grabbed his coat, eyes blazing. Your way is silence, John. Always has been. The door slammed, echoing the one from summer, but this cut deeper, a fracture in our fragile peace. He vanished for days. Phone dark. Internship a ghost. Panic clawed me. I scoured the city, Wrigleyville haunts, DePaul's art studios, even the lakefront paths where joggers chased horizons. Chicago swallowed secrets whole, but grief sharpened senses. On the third night, a text, Lake Michigan. Need air. I raced there, wind whipping off the water like accusations, finding him on a bench near the Adler Planetarium, bundled against the chill, sketchpad abandoned at his feet. Matt, my voice broke on the wind. He looked up, eyes red-rimmed, defeated. Why'd you come? Because healing isn't solo. This is facing the storm. I sat, close but not touching, the lake churning black. He spilled it then, the fear of rejection, the betrayal not just from Tom, but from me, the man he'd trusted most. I thought you chose me. Us. Tears mingled with spray. I have, I said, voice fierce. Every day since Sarah. But fear's a bastard. It makes us small. I told him about Elena's last words. Live fully, John. For both of us. And in that moment, under a sky bruised with clouds, I chose no more silence. We walked back together, arms brushing, the city lights a constellation of possibility. Back home, over cocoa steaming with marshmallows, we mapped it, therapy for the grief, a coming out on our terms, boundaries redrawn not as walls but as doors. Romance? Flickered, tentative, a hand held during a movie, a forehead kiss goodnight that lingered like promise. But it was the emotion that bound us, the raw ache of loss transmuted into something luminous. Winter deepened, snow blanketing the streets in hush. Matthew's exhibit opened at a small gallery in Pilsen, walls alive with his portraits, ours among them, subtle. Two figures silhouetted against the skyline, hands extended but not quite touching. The crowd murmured approval, but his eyes sought mine, validation in the nod I gave. Tom sent a card, terse apology enclosed. We burned it in the fireplace, ashes swirling like released ghosts. Climax came unbidden, a betrayal from within. In February, during a brutal blizzard that shut the city down, Matthew confessed over phone, his ex from college, a guy named Riley, had resurfaced, drunk dialing regrets and rekindled sparks. He wants to try again. Says we were good. Jealousy twisted, sharp as icicles, but beneath it, fear of losing him to someone unscarred, uncomplicated. What do you want? I asked, voice steady through static. Silence. Then you. But if it's too much, the line crackled, hearts exposed. I drove through the storm that night, wipers slashing futilely, to his dorm, tires slipping on ice-slick roads, pulse thundering. He met me in the lobby, flannel over thermals, eyes wide. John, it's a whiteout, doesn't matter. We retreated to his room, radiator clanking like a heartbeat, and there, in the dim glow of a desk lamp, the dam broke. Not with passion, but truth. I love you, Matt. Not as a father figure, but as the man who's seen my shadows and stayed. He crossed the space, arms enveloping, sobs muffled in my shoulder. I love you too. Riley was safe. Your home. Betrayal mended in whispers. Plans sketched on notebook paper. Moving in together post-graduation. A life beyond labels. Spring thawed the city. Cherry blossoms rioting pink along the drive. Matthew graduated summa cum laude. His thesis on intimate cartographies earning nods from professors who saw the soul in strokes. Our ending wasn't fairy tale. No grand wedding under the bean, but humanistic, earned. We bought a condo in Andersonville, rainbow flags fluttering from porches like welcomes. Mornings found us tangled in sheets, not in lust but limbs, coffee brewing as we planned hikes in the Indiana dunes. Elena and Sarah's photos graced the mantle, guardians of our reinvention. Matthew's art flourished, galleries clamoring. I scaled back hours, volunteering at a grief center, turning pain into bridge. One evening, as dusk painted the lake gold, we stood on our balcony, his hand in mine, steady. We healed, he said, voice soft. Chose words over wounds. I pulled him close, foreheads touching. And love over lines. Chicago sprawled below, alive with a million stories, ours woven into the tapestry. Flawed, fierce, forever. The first year in Andersonville was a masterclass in unlearning silence. Our neighborhood pulsed with life, drag brunches spilling laughter onto sidewalks, bookstores crammed with queer histories that Matthew devoured like scripture. I'd watch him there, nose in a worn copy of Giovanni's Room, brow furrowed in that way that made my chest ache with quiet pride. We'd argue over dinner about Baldwin's rage versus Woolf's introspection, forks clinking like punctuation. It was domesticity redefined, not the rote routines of my past marriages, but a dance steps tentative, then bold. Yet scars itch. Mine surfaced in spring, during Pride Month's fever. The parades thrummed down Halsted, rainbows unfurling like banners of belonging. But as we wove through the crowds, his arm looped casual through mine. A face from my past materialized. Derek, my college flame, graying but grinning, a beer in hand. John Harlan? Holy shit, It's been decades. The air thickened, memories crashing like waves. Derek, with his easy laugh and calloused hands from carpentry. The one who'd cracked my world open in that Ann Arbor dorm, only for me to bolt when the fear hit. Matthew sensed it, excusing himself for drinks while Derek and I caught up. Awkward small talk about jobs, him a contractor now. Me still crunching numbers. Wives long gone. Kids scattered. You look good, man. Settled. His eyes flicked to where Matthew stood, chatting with a group of activists, and something unspoken passed. Yeah, I replied, throat tight. Found my way, but that night, back in our sunlit apartment, the itch became infection. Who was he? Matthew asked, voice light but probing, as we unpacked takeout falafel. I hesitated, the old silence rising like fog. An old complication. He set down his fork, eyes narrowing. The one from college? Trust frayed, a thread pulling loose. I confessed over the next weeks, in fits and starts, late-night confessions on the fire escape, stars smudged by city glow. How Derek and I had been fire and fuel, nights tangled in sheets that smelled of pine and possibility, until graduation loomed and I chose the safe path. Law school interviews, a blind date with Elena that bloomed into stability. I ran, I admitted, shame hot. Betrayed what we had by burying it. Matthew listened, hurt flickering, jealousy, fear of echoes? But he cupped my face, thumbs tracing jaw. You came back to yourself. That's the story that matters. We made love then, slow and sacred, bodies mapping forgiveness in the dark. No rush, no conquest, just us, healing the rifts. Summer brought its own tempests. Matthew's career ignited. A mural commission for a community center in Uptown. Vibrant portraits of queer elders that drew crowds and controversy. Local news picked it up. A blip on WGN about inclusive art in a divided city. But backlash slithered in, an anonymous email to his gallery. Perverted propaganda. Keep your agenda off our walls. He laughed it off at first, but I saw the flinch, the way his sketches grew jagged. It's noise, he'd say, but nights found him pacing, phone clutched like a shield. I pushed for boundaries, therapy sessions at a center in Boys Town, where a counselor named Raj unpacked the betrayals. Sarah's family whispers, Riley's ghost texts that still pinged occasionally. Betrayal isn't just acts, Raj said, his voice calm as lake water. It's the silences we allow. Matthew nodded, but resentment simmered toward me. You get it, corporate guy. Straight passing for years. But I grew up queer in the open. Every rejection's a fresh cut. Our first real fight erupted over it. In the kitchen amid steaming pasta. I'm trying, Matt, but I can't erase history. He hurled back. Then stop acting like your closet was noble. It hurt people, me. By proxy. Plates clattered. Words sharper than shards. He slept on the couch that night, our bed vast and cold. Morning brought olive branches. My apology baked into blueberry scones. His sketched note slipped under the door, a heart cracked but mending. We rebuilt, slower now, with walks along the lakefront, hands intertwined against the wind. Chicago's summers are symphonies of sweat and street fairs. We lost ourselves in them, volunteering at the center, his murals a beacon. One evening, as fireworks cracked over Navy Pier, he turned to me, eyes reflecting bursts. I crossed a line once, but you pulled me back. Thank you. I kissed him then, soft under the sparkle, tasting salt and spark. Fall whispered changes. I turned 44, a milestone marked not with cake but a road trip, Route 66 echoes, driving west to reclaim pieces of myself. We camped in the Badlands, stars a dome of diamonds, sharing stories around a crackling fire. He spoke of his biodad's latest radio silence, a birthday card and signed, I of Elena's letters, tucked in a box, urging boldness. She'd love you, I said, voice thick. The way you make beauty from ache. He leaned into me, head on shoulder. And she'd kick your ass for hiding so long. Laughter bubbled, easing the weight. Back in the city, conflict crested again, betrayal from an unexpected quarter. My sister, Laura, visiting from Boston, cornered us over brunch at and Sather's, cinnamon rolls cooling like accusations. She'd always been the protector, Elena's confidant, but grief had hardened her edges. John, this arrangement is not right. Matthew's young, you're his elder. What would Elena say? Her words landed like slaps, laced with concern but cutting deep. Matthew stiffened, fork pausing. I felt the old silence rise, tempting. But I chose words. Elena wanted joy. Laura. Not judgment. This is ours. She left in a huff, texts cooling to frost. But in the aftermath, Matthew and I fortified letters to her, patient but firm, outlining our truth. Winter returned, snow a soft shroud. Holiday lights twinkled in Andersonville, but our tree bore ornaments of memory. Sarah's star, Elena's painted bauble, Matthew's childhood Lego angel. We hosted a small gathering, friends from his art circle, my colleague Raj, laughter weaving through carols. Yet intimacy deepened in quiet moments. His fingers tracing my laugh lines by firelight, my head in his lap as he read poetry, Auden's elegies for lost loves redeemed. Climax brewed in March, a storm named Riley. He appeared at the gallery during Matthew's solo show, polished in a suit that screamed reinvention. Tech startup bro now, apologies wrapped in charm. I was an idiot, he said, voice smooth, eyes on Matthew's new works, abstracts of intertwined forms, ours veiled in color. I hovered at the periphery, champagne flute tight in grip, jealousy a live wire. Matthew engaged politely, but I saw the pull, the ease of shared youth, uncomplicated history. That night, as we drove home through slushy streets, tension crackled. You talked to him for an hour, my tone sharper than intended. He glanced over, streetlights striping his face. Jealous, terrified, honesty spilled then. Raw, my fear of inadequacy, age's shadow, the betrayal I'd inflict by clinging too tight. He pulled over near Montrose Harbor, engine idling. Riley's past. Your present, flaws and all. He kissed me fierce, hands framing my face. We choose each other, every day. The dam held, but tears fell, cathartic. Spring bloomed forgiveness. Laura visited again, tentative, bearing Elena's letters, ones I'd never seen, penned in her looping script. Love who lights your dark. John. No apologies. We talked, really talked, over coffee in our sun-drenched kitchen. Matthew sketched her portrait as she softened, lines easing. Betrayal mended, family expanded. By summer's heat, our life was rhythm, his studio in the spare room, canvases alive, my hybrid schedule, Afternoons free for lake swims, his laughter echoing off waves. Romance wove through mundane, notes in lunch bags, dances in the kitchen to Coltrane. Humanistic in its ordinariness, profound in depth. One dawn, as fog lifted off the lake, Matthew proposed, not with rings, but words. Build forever with me? I nodded, throat full. Already have. Chicago hummed approval, our story etched in its endless reinvention. Lines crossed, healed, loved. 2 years in, the rhythm held, but life's jazz demands improvisation. Matthew's mural series caught a curator's eye, a commission for the MCA, massive panels on identity's fluidity that had critics buzzing. Harlan's stepson redefines queer narrative. One review gushed, but the spotlight amplified shadows. Online trolls swarmed his feeds, vitriol masked as concern. Predatory much? Aimed at me, the older partner. The stung. A betrayal from strangers who saw caricatures, not souls. Matthew shrugged it off publicly, but privately, he'd scroll late, jaw clenched. Their right to question, he'd mutter. What if I'm the line you regret crossing? I'd pull him close then, countering with truths. You're the horizon I chase, but doubt is insidious, a weed in the garden. My own betrayal loomed. Work's demand for a transfer to the firm's New York office. A promotion that whispered security but screamed separation. I agonized over it in boardrooms, spreadsheets blurring with what-ifs. Tell him? Hide until decided? Silence tempted, familiar as sin. I chose confession over concealment. One crisp October evening as leaves pirouette outside our windows. We were on the couch, his head in my lap, a documentary on Baldwin flickering muted. Matt, there's an opportunity. In New York, his body tensed, eyes searching mine. And it means leaving. Or you following, uprooting your momentum. Storm clouds gathered in his gaze, fear, anger, the raw edge of potential loss. You were going to decide alone? Voice low. Thinking in silence, like always. Betraying us by assuming. The fight raged quiet but fierce, accusations flying like embers. He accused me of control, of loving the idea of stability more than the mess of us. I fired back with provision, the provider's curse. I want to build, not break. Doors slammed. He retreated to his studio, brushes slashing canvas in violent strokes, reds bleeding into blacks, forms fracturing. I wandered the streets, Andersonville's lights mocking, past the bookstore where we'd first bonded over banned books. Chicago, for all its grit, couldn't swallow this ache. Days passed in cold civility, coffee poured black. No cream for sweetness. Raj mediated, his office a neutral harbor. Conflict isn't betrayal's end, he said, but its forge. Matthew went first, voice cracking. I fear you'll choose safe over me. Like with Derek. I followed, vulnerable. And I fear I'm the anchor dragging you down. Tears. Winter's hush brought introspection. Holidays with Laura now warm. Her boyfriend a gentle librarian, adding levity. We strung lights, baked gingerbread men with lopsided grins. Elena's recipes a ritual of remembrance. Matthew's gift to me, a portrait, not half-shadowed but fully lit me at dawn. Eyes crinkled in joy, titled Chosen Light. Mine to him, a leather-bound journal. Spring unfurled opportunity. A betrayal from art's underbelly. His MCA piece vandalized overnight, spray-painted slurs dripping like wounds. Police reports, news crews, Chicago's undercurrent of hate exposed. Matthew crumbled, studio door barred, sketches abandoned. What's the point if it's just targets? I held him through nights of sobs, but rage simmered, my own. His voice amplified through megaphone, mine beside, hand in his. Hate silences, love shouts back, crowds swelled, fists raised not in fury but solidarity. The vandalism birthed momentum, funds for queer youth art programs, his name synonymous with resilience. Summer's heat tested anew. Riley reemerged, not as suitor but confessor, emailing Matthew about his own coming out, inspired by our brave story glimpsed in a podcast interview. Jealousy flickered, but curiosity won. We met for coffee in neutral Wicker Park. Riley older, humbled, partner waiting at home. You too. It's real, he said, as kind. Matthew nodded, closure settling like dust. It is. Back home, we toasted with chilled white to exes as teachers, not thieves. Fall's palette mirrored growth. I turned 45. A party in our courtyard. Friends. Fairy lights. Requested a visit, her first since the wedding. Illness a reluctant bridge. We drove to Evanston. Lake winds whipping. Tension thick as fog. She greeted us in a sunroom smelling of lavender and regret. Eyes sharp despite years. I've been wrong, she started, voice tremulous. Betrayal unpacked. Her own silenced youth, a lesbian aunt disowned in the 50s. I saw shadows in you, Matthew, and feared passing them. He forgave, arms around her fragile frame. I watched, heart swelling, generations healing in a single embrace. Our kiss chaste but electric under spotlights. Life bloomed full, his studio thriving, my garden yielding basil-scented miracles. Romance in details, a picnic under the bean, reflections warping us into infinity. Humanistic arc. Not perfection, but persistence. Love as verb. As fireflies danced in Lincoln Park, Matthew traced my palm. We crossed lines, but look, new paths. I smiled, pulling him close. And we'll walk them, hand in hand. Year 3 dawned with promise. But promise, like Chicago's spring, comes laced with chill. Matthew's gallery buzz led to a fellowship in San Francisco. 6 months. Immersive, a siren call to coasts unknown. It's a chance to scale, he said over breakfast. Eyes alight. Pride warred with possessiveness. I nodded, masking the knot. Go conquer, but nights bred whispers. What if the city by the bay claims you? Silence crept, a thief in our bed. He sensed it, confronting over a rainy dinner at our favorite BYOB in Ukrainian village. You're quiet. Again, fork down, vulnerability raw. Afraid I'll stay? I exhaled truth. Afraid you'll thrive without me. His laugh was gentle, pained. John, you're my thrive. We talked logistics, visits, video calls, boundaries against drift. Betrayal averted by candor. He jetted west, leaving our apartment echoing. San Fran suited him. Sketches of fog-shrouded bridges. Emails brimming innovation. I visited once. Month 2. The city's hills mirroring our UPS. We hiked Land's End. Waves crashing like confessions. His hand in mine against the wind. Miss this, he murmured. Miss you. Intimacy in stolen moments, hotel sheets rumpled, bodies aligning slow, souls sinking deeper. But distance gnaws. Back in Chicago. Alone. Old doubts surfaced. Texts delayed. His world expanding sans me. Conflict peaked mid-fellowship. A collaborator, talented sculptor named Alex, entered frame, late-night studio sessions, photos of them laughing over clay. Harmless, he swore in calls, but jealousy brewed, pot left unattended. It's work, he'd insist, voice strained. My responses clipped, silence my shield. Then the call, John, talk to me. Don't shut down. Cracked, accusations spilling. Am I just the anchor now, holding you from real life? Hurt echoed back. You're betraying us by doubting. Line dead. Storm raging. Reconciliation brewed slow. Letters, yes. Actual ink and paper. Mailed like artifacts. Mine. Apologies for fear's grip. Memories of our first balcony beer. His affirmations of choice. Sketches of us as intertwined roots. Raj weighed in via Zoom. Distance tests. Doesn't destroy. By month's end, I flew out, unannounced. He met me at SFO, arms crushing, forgiveness in embrace. No more silences, we vowed, sealing with a kiss amid baggage claim bustle. He returned transformed, portfolio bursting, confidence etched. Summer saw us road-tripping south, blues highways to Memphis, Beale Street's wail a soundtrack to soul-searching. We danced in juke joints, bodies loose, hearts open, talked betrayals past. My corporate climbs cost, his father's abandonment as blueprint avoided. We're rewriting, he said, head on my chest in a roadside motel, fireflies blinking approval. Fall brought harvest. His first major sale, a piece to MoMA, funds seeding our dream, a hybrid space, his gallery below, my home office above, in Edgewater's Lakeview charm. But betrayal struck intimate. My health, a routine check flagging irregular heartbeat, stresses toll. I hit it, scheduling test solo, until a dizzy spell at work landed me in ER. Matthew summoned frantic. He arrived wild-eyed, holding vigil as monitors beeped. Why didn't you tell? Voice breaking. Didn't want to burden. Truth. Fear of fragility. Of him seeing cracks. Post-discharge. Recovery was reckoning meds. Meditation. His hand in mine at cardiologist visits. Burden shared is halved, he said, brewing ginger tea strong. We redesigned routines. Yoga at dawn. Walk sans phones. Love letters weekly. Intimacy evolved, emotional massages. Thumbs kneading worry from brows. Winter's grip softened by gratitude. Holidays with extended kin. Laura's clan. Sarah's mom frail but fierce. Tables groaning with stories swapped. Matthew's gift. A custom heart monitor app. His design. Whimsy in code. Mine tickets to NYC. Broadway's Angels in America. Priests and prophets mirroring our plagues conquered. Climax crested New Year's. A party at our new space under renovation. Sawdust floors. Champagne flutes clinking. Amid revelry, Riley appeared, uninvited via mutual friend, ice-shadowed by breakup. Needed to see real love, he toasted, vulnerability cracking. Matthew pulled him aside, words private. Later, Riley confessed to me, you too. It's what I couldn't give. No jealousy, Just compassion, betrayal transmuted to bridge. Spring renovation frenzy bonded us. Paint splattered, laughing over dropped drywall. Opening night, harbor lines, walls alive with our narrative, portraits of crossed paths, healed wounds. Crowds swelled. Critics lauded humanity's tender geometry. As confetti fell, Matthew whispered, "Our line, drawn true, summer idle, garden feasts, lake dips, bodies bronzed. Romance in reverie, a weekend at Elena's old cabin in Door County, loons calling as we kayaked sunsets." "She'd approve," I said, "her spirit in wind." He nodded. And Sarah, proud of our mess-made masterpiece. By fall, life layered rich, his mentorships, my board seat at the grief center. Humanistic weave, love as labor, enduring. Twilight stroll, hand in hand, lines blur, but we sharpen each other. Smile shared, path forward infinite. Midway through year 4, equilibrium tempted complacency, a subtle betrayal of growth's demand. Matthew's Harbor Lines tour hit coasts, leaving me to solo the gallery's admin. Ledgers blurring with loneliness. Calls grew rote. "How's Portland?" "Raining." "Like us." But subtext simmered. His exhaustion, my unspoken envy of his orbit. Silence seeded resentment. One night, post-Boston return, sprouted. "You sound distant," he accused, unpacking amid hotel swag. "Just tired. Lie thin. Truth. Fear of fading into backdrop." Fight flickered fast, words like sparks. His self-absorbed jet set, my stifling roots. He slept in studio. I in bed, staring at ceiling fans whirl. Morning brought mediation coffee black, amends in mugs. "We're drifting," he admitted. "Need anchors, not chains." We recommitted. Monthly retreats. No phones nights. Therapy tandem. Raj smiled. "Complacency's the quiet killer. Vigilance, its antidote." Summer's bomb healed. A cabin getaway in the Up. Michigan's wilds. Hikes through birch cathedrals. Campfires crackling confessions. He shared fellowship doubts. Felt like performing, not living. I bared bored regrets. Pushing papers when I crave creation. Inspired. We co-launched workshops, art for grievers. My stories framing his canvases. First session. Tear-streaked faces finding color in chaos. Fall's fervor. Tour wrap party. Luminaries toasting. But betrayal blindsided. Anonymous leak to art's blog. Stepdad muse or conflict. Twisting our story into scandal. Dredging step relation like dirt. Phones buzzed outrage. Matthew paled. "They're weaponizing us." Rage boiled. Mine protective. His wounded. We lawyered up. Statement crafted. Love defies labels. Hate invents them. Support surged, queer allies amplifying. Trolls drowned in solidarity. Winter wonder. Gallery holiday market. Booths brimming baubles and bomb. Laura's visit piqued joy. Her engagement announced over lax. Matthew sketching vows. Intimacy intimate. Snowed-in nights. Bodies warm. Souls bared in board games and ballads. Climax brewed spring. Health's echo. My checkup clear. But Matthew's scan flagged. A benign cyst. Surgeon's scalpel. Waiting room vigil reversed roles. I held his hand. Heart hammering. "Scared," he whispered. "Terrified of losing you." Surgery seamless. Recovery cocooned. Broths simmered. Books read aloud. Love's labor light. You crossed my line first, he joked post-op. Now I owe you. Laughter healed swifter than scars. Summer Sabbath. Europe jaunt, Paris alleys, his sketches of sane silhouettes, my tales of Hemingway haunts. Betrayal mended in museums. Rodin's lovers, entangled eternal. Like us, he said, fingers laced. Fall flourish, workshop expansion, national buzz. My 40th sixth, surprise mural, neighbors collaborating, our faces in mosaic, titled Enduring Stroke. Winter's whisper, New Year's vision boarding, dreams doodled, adoption musings, legacy sketched. By spring, tapestry tightened, love's loom weaving wounds to wisdom. Lakefront lean, we choose, daily, echo, and thrive, year 5 crowned culmination. Yet life's narrative arc's eternal, no finale, just chapters. Matthew's workshops birthed a nonprofit, lines unsilenced, chapters sprouting in queer hubs nationwide. I helmed ops, spreadsheets now serving stories, budgets balancing brushes and breakthroughs. Pride swelled, but pressure mounted. Board meetings clashing with his residencies, silences slipping in schedules. Conflict crystallized autumn. Invite to Elena's alma mater. A lecture on grief's geometry, his visuals, my voice. Rehearsals tense. Visions clashing, his emotive abstracts versus my structured slides. It's not a TED Talk, he snapped. It's heart, and structure honors it, I countered. Backstage blow-up pre-event. Accusations of control. Dismissal. Audience oblivious. Applause thundering. But post-talk. Green room raw. We're sinking out, he said. Eyes storm-tossed. Betrayal. Our harmony. Frayed by haste. Retreat followed. Weekend at Sarah's old lake house. Adirondack chairs creaking under confessions. I fear losing our spark to routine, he admitted. And I, dimming your fire with my frames. Vows renewed. Date nights disguised as deadlines. Art jams sans agenda. Raj affirmed, evolution, not erosion. Winter's weave. Non-profit gala. Funds flowing for fellowships. Surprise. Adoption inquiry. Fostering a teen artist. Echoes of Matthew's youth. Process peeled layers. Home studies probing our unconventional. But love's letter one. We build families from fractures. Spring's seed. Little Alex joined. 16 and sketching storms. Bunking our spare. Chaos charmed. Crayon chaos. Midnight talks on identity. Matthew mentored. I fathered anew. Old lines redrawn inclusive. Summer solstice. Family hike in the Smokies. Trails testing. Bonds tightening. Alex's quip. You two are gross cute. Laughter liberated. Fall's fire. Elena's memorial. Decade mark. Gathering under her mural. Stories shared. Matthew unveiled tribute. Elena's light. Beams breaking shadows. Climax crested November. Vandals hit lines unsilenced HQ. Glass shattered. Walls scarred. Panic's pulse. But we rallied community cleanup. Phoenix rising in paint. Alex's first mural, resilient roots. Media spun triumph. Hate humbled. Winter's warmth. Holidays hybrid. Biofam. Chosen kin. Table tales tumbling. Adoption finalized. Alex's grin gold. By spring. Circle complete. Gallery anniversary. Walls whispering 5 years wonders. Toast. To crossings. Healings. Twilight Terrace. Trio entwined. Lines lead here. Us. And onward. Our story. Human tapestry. Dramatic threads. Emotional warps. Romantic wefts. Humanistic whole. Chicago cradles. We choose bold. Healing over silence. Always.